somebody that's going to speak during public comment regarding the as from
Well, I have two questions. My first question is the dates that we're not I haven't been public. I've been asked to second is the committee that's working with. I'm not aware of any committee that's working with architects. So I'm just wondering, if there is one and point it to part of it, but how it differentiates between the two types. No. The committee that's meeting, she's referring to a committee that's meeting with the architect, and I'm not aware of what committee the school will approve to meet with the architect. So that's where I'm confused.
recollect when we approved letting this group go ahead.
That's what I'm asking.
Right,
Who's on the group?
so there was a meeting of a committee of citizens that were that formed a committee to see what could they do. They asked Chuck and Tom to come down and Chuck and Tom explain to them the difference between being an information-only committee and really being a private pact. And they chose, after understanding the differences, to not be an informational and be a private committee. So whatever they do, they are on their own. They are not associated with anything specific to us, and it's up to them whether or not they want us to make anybody here privy to any information that they need.
And that's where I'm asking the question, because according to the memo that I read, which you can make public to the teachers, correct? Because I can speak to this memo.
Yep.
It said they weren't meeting, not yes, it's supposed to be formal, that they were meeting. So that's why I'm asking, what committee has this school board said to meet with an information thing? They can't do a yes, and meet with taxpayer resources. That's what it says in the memo. That's what the state law says.
Are you talking about $30,000?
Yeah, I'm talking about his contract, because I wasn't, keep in mind, I was not here for that meeting, because I had said this was the one day I couldn't go, and that's when the meeting was. So I had said when I could go, it was all the other days except Wednesday. So that's why I'm asking, because according to the memo from our lawyers, okay, our lawyers said that for public funds to be used with a yes committee, that's not something that's supposed to happen. They can meet with a committee that is not a yes, but informational committee, and that's okay. And here's the thing, I don't care one way or the other. I'm trying to keep this legal, because it's back and fight, it's in the butt. And it is because they've already met once without it being publicly known when the dates were. I didn't even know where it was. And I was asked when the meeting was in writing. I know the dates, but I don't know the location, and I don't know the time. And I'm on the school board. That's kind of.
They are private, actually. Yeah, they don't have to vote.
They don't have self, they can't be with
Well, so I asked them about that. I asked them about that.
Yeah.
Specifically asked them, I said it's going to be looked on whether or not, I specifically asked that question. So, this is under the contract of what the school district is paying for the architects. I said, so if you're meeting with them, that's not something that the district has approved or is. So are they paying you, or is it out of the goodness of your own heart? And you said, well, it's out of the goodness of
That's
no,
yes.
it's not.
If it's taxpayers' dollars.
It's not taxpayer dollars.
Wait a second.
They can choose to go and work with any committee they want. The architects, if they want to go and provide information. And
That's
the one thing,
not
let me be
right.
clear also, the other thing that Tom Cox made abundantly clear, and he said he is not even going to toe the line, he's going to make sure he is on the straight and narrow with this, is he'll provide information to them, only public information, and only information that has been approved by the school board with respect to drawings and prints and stuff like
That's
that.
what I'm doing. What
So-
have we approved? Nothing. Other
Right,
than,
yeah.
no, we have no drawings, no prints, no directing, other than we approved a referendum to be put on ballot,
Right.
which is completely fine. And what I'm telling you is, after reading Ryan Bear's memo, okay, and now what you're saying to me, we are not doing what we're supposed to be doing with this, because that means that the architect's money is being paid for with taxpayers' money. They cannot mean the special needs. They cannot, because that's exactly what it is. Once you go yes, and you're no longer informative, you're special needs. Okay, and that's the law. I mean, that's not something I'm saying, that's the law. So what I'm saying is, though, is that if our architect is meeting with a special interest group and not doing those meetings are not made public, okay, then we are in violation because they have to be made public because it's open meeting law.
It's not an open meeting, and we're not paying them.
No, we're not. We're
Chuck,
paying
if
the
a citizen
architect.
wants to call somebody in this committee,
You can't.
we can't tell them.
I know, I agree.
That's all that's going on. We're not paying them. We can just get it. It's not about.
Wait a second.
But so the dates when
They,
their meeting.
here's what happened. There was a misunderstanding. Chuck originally thought they were going to be an informational meeting, just like what happened the last time. So he gave us all these dates when they're going to meet. And then once he spoke with them, they told me they were not going to be an information. So those meetings are not going to take place in a closed forum.
So that's where I'm getting at. This is what I don't understand. Who is Chuck meeting and what information is being put out? Because there's
So
nothing.
he doesn't have a committee though.
He doesn't, that's what I'm saying.
He's
So he
just
doesn't
on
have a
his own.
committee. And
So
then
we
so you
paid
can't-
$34,000 for him to form a committee,
We paid that.
but now he's not gonna do that?
So Chuck is not going to be meeting with the special interest group unless the special interest group pays him.
He's
Is
still
that what you're
gonna-
saying?
You can provide them information.
Yes. But that's what I'm.
He's still, that money includes the rent and
We haven't seen them. So what direction?
There is.
He's got a meeting next week.
So if in group wants to create an informational only group like was done last year, he would meet with that group and help that group.
But that has to be.
And if, no, it doesn't. No.
It's appointed by the board, that's what it says right here.
You can have an informational group.
Right, but the committee has to approve it. According to Brian Darrell, and even according to what we just approved here tonight, under school board committees,
Have a information group.
no, without committees, they'll have to.
It's a public committee, not a school board that pays president.
So that's,
You can have a committee within the school board, like a technology committee or whatever. This is a public committee, you can do whatever you want.
I agree, and that's yes, and that's fine. That's what I'm saying though is that the information has to be.
I don't think there is an information.
But that's what I'm saying, is because if he's meeting $10 for a meeting with a guest only group, even if it's just providing information, that meeting, okay, has to be open to the public, because you can't take taxpayers' and just say, yes, you're only going to meet with yes only. It has to be informational for the community.
They're not meeting, they're not using taxpayers' dollars. I specifically asked that question. I said, if a committee that was not in favor of the referendum wanted to meet, we said we provide them the same information. It's all public information.
Okay, so prior to our last board meeting, you guys had your meeting at the elementary school with Chuck. We are paying him for that, correct?
I believe he was paid for that, and that's what was showed, and that's what he told. Talked the difference between an informational meeting and a private meeting, and explained that.
He came into that gearing up for an informational. Once the meeting took place, we quickly found out that's not what the committee wanted.
So if it's an informational meeting, it doesn't have to be public either. So even though we're paying for it and it's informational, it's only informational to those that are invited?
It's not an open meeting.
Wait,
That's why we two school resources.
That's where I'm going. Because that's not what Brian Darrell did. I mean, I'm pretty sure that was wrong.
What's that?
I'm pretty sure that was the distinction between the two, okay, from Brian Darrell, their memo was, if it was a yes group, only yes group, that Chuck services, okay, were for informational group, being paid for by the taxpayer. If it's a yes only group, okay, then those meetings aren't available. to
You
the
cannot
public.
expend taxpayers' dollars to promote or discourage the passage of a
That's what I'm getting.
referendum. And anybody that is appointed,
Providing information.
anybody that is a subsidiary body of the school board, which would be appointed by the school board, is subject to the Open Meetings Act. Similarly, if you have a majority of a quorum of school board members attend the meeting, then that is also subject to the Open Meetings Act.
But that's what I guess it said, okay, is that his dollars are being used, yes, only, but that's not a big
Not yet, they haven't, and nor will they. We can't allow that.
That's what I'm saying.
So what
That's
were
what I'm
all the
saying.
dates then that you provided
That's
for
what he
us?
had before, he planned those
Yeah,
dates
so
out.
When
before
he
they
thought it
realized
was
that they were gonna be a
Before he
Friday.
left.
Those dates were for pre-referendum service. My understanding, I wasn't at that meeting that everybody's referring to. My understanding is those meeting dates were going to be used to develop renditions and elevations on what a building would look like and engage the community. I don't know if he's planning to have those still or not at this point.
And that's where I'm getting.
And that is open to anybody in the public.
But it's not
Anybody.
open if it's not published. If
Right.
nobody knows that they're available, then.
And at this point, I don't know if they're having, if he's having them.
And that's what I'm getting at, because yes or no does not matter to the, wait, yes or no right now doesn't, wait, I'm not trying to- yes or no doesn't matter to the people on board, before you put on the record. I want to make that very clear. I mean, it's already going forward with record, so there's no if, ands, or buts about that. What I'm trying to make clear though is it's being done right, so that everyone, whether you're yes or you're no, is there to have their input, so that it is public, so that people are aware that, hey, this is important. If I want to go there and I want to be yes, I want to be no, I want to hear what's going on from the informational part, great. We need to make sure that everyone in the community, not just if you're pro, not if you're no, but is getting this information. That's where I was going with this, because it's not right now. The way it is.
Exactly, so that would be a different group that would have to do that.
That's what.
This group isn't gonna do that.
There, yes,
Yeah, somebody else would have to do that.
But that's what I'm saying, the next meeting is scheduled, according to Chuck. So I don't know what's going on with Chuck, but, yeah, that's what I'm saying, we don't know what's going on with Chuck, and that's what we kind of need.
Then does he need to amend the contract? I mean, I guess I'm looking at this like, he's agreed to do meetings, hold meetings on these dates and have all of these. I mean, when we discussed it and we asked specifically what he was providing for us for that 30 grand, I was continually told that it was meetings. So
Well,
is he having meetings? Is he not? And if not, what are we paying for?
It's not just meetings, it's also engineering costs, survey costs, part of it is meetings. And the drawings and renderings, and the elevation.
And I just want to throw
but it
out,
should be less, because he's not meeting with, I mean,
but let me
just,
throw this out there. Two good things happened from the last referendum that happened today. We did have community members. We had them there, they saw the school, I guess school board can't really act on anything. We were listening last time, just listening what was going on. This is not going to happen this way, because now it's a yes group, not an informational group. Then what is the harm of the school board not doing another open house? like we did
Absolutely,
before?
we should.
But
Somebody
that's what
else
I'm
just
saying,
has to do
but
it.
it's now
Yeah.
the middle, almost the end of January. We have only a limited amount of time, and if we don't have dates for this, and it's not being publicized, and we're not working towards doing that, then it's an issue. If that comes from us, that doesn't come from a yes, no, maybe, purple, blue group. I mean, that comes from us, and that we haven't discussed, and it's now the end of January. So that's where I'm going.
but the school
is
board
coming.
can only provide information.
I agree, and I know that, but I'm just saying though, is that right now, Chuck doesn't have any information to really give, because we haven't approved anything or asked for anything like that. And number one, number two, dates being planned, and it's the end of January, how are we supposed to invoke all the community to know what's going on, and we don't even have any dates set yet? Because it's getting close to the wire for voting.
So what needs to happen with that is we need to have folks in the community that are willing to step out and schedule and help do some of that stuff. Last time there were folks that did that. So far, all of the people that I know that stepped up to do it decided to do it in their own private committee. So I don't know if any other members that have taken on that responsibility.
And how do we know what's the difference? There should be some people in the community that, yes, we just want the information. And, we're gonna put out what we can, it's accurate, positive, what have you, and that's where I'm going with this. We don't have that, so how can we get there to schedule these things out so that all the community, everybody, we need to deal with the community, we need to bring everybody in and make a positive.
So maybe that's the direct action that we ask Chuck, when we can have this, and at the same token, who can he work with to get this done?
You know, all of us are on buildings and grounds. That's a committee that's been, every single one of us is placed by you on buildings and grounds. And I still feel that the school board should have part in open house sessions, not any discussion, so much as just hearing what our committee is saying to us.
I think that we should definitely put into the meetings with Chuck, and I mean, at their minimum, I think that they should be posted. He was suggesting to do a community meeting, then I don't think it's appropriate for board members, especially to not even privy to that information.
I think we should put it up with the date that we in February, it's gonna have to be.
But regardless of the fact, yes or no, this has a serious impact on our community. And I truly want everyone who can be there voting to know what they're voting for with their heart. Yes or no, know what's going to happen. That's up to the voters. But I want them to be informed of everything. Not just one way, not just the other way, all of them. It's their money.
Go tomorrow. Probably after our next February meeting. Plan was we were going to lock down these other options at that time. So if we have that in place before the public information meeting, that'd be helpful.
After the
Really lay out
28th?
all sides of the facts.
After the 28th?
Is that our February meeting?
Oh, I'm sorry, January.
So I don't remember, is it included in that contract with him for them to put together literature, information
Yeah.
literature?
Brochure.
But that's the thing, you can write down what it's going to do. I mean, we don't have to actually, other than what it's going to cost and the amortization charge, how much it's going to cost when it's all said and done.
Sure, it's just
What, is it, how
Are
much,
you figuring this out?
what's the final amount that is going to cost us for the elementary school for the final loan? Is it $20-some million?
So there's some information that I know is concerned with and some of the engineering work and what would it look like. There was talk about, one of the things in the contract was having some renderings. So like we talked about, having some renderings created, some sort of vertical concepts. Cost overall, some of the things that we talked about was depending on the size of a lot, whether it was farmland or a average homeowner, what would it cost to school for $50,000 per $100,000 school district, much like I think what we wrote last time, talking about pretty much.
It's very important, especially not having your own, and then you have cars, so you need to, I mean, you don't go buy a car, not.
And one of the key things we planned on mentioning was just similar to last time was you can have some renderings available, here's some possibilities, but ultimately it will be asked from some community members and some faculty to help put together what the final building will look like.
And you should be the first point that.
You don't go in there with a final drawing, so here's what we're doing. So you would ask some specific questions about form a community committee and help with the old information as well. So that's all good information I think we need to get out to everybody.
Can we go over the cumulative tax rate so we understand as well as the amortization chart for the final cost of?
It's available for other people.
Yeah.
But I agree with what you said, Frank. I think, you know, if we would meet, if we would have a community meeting, an informational one, and present facts on the new school or what, if this would fail, this is what we're going to do. So people would really know, then they would know the cost of this opposed to this A and B. Right, I mean, I think that should be part of this.
Want our support, and we're reacting to the same thing.
So if he's not, I mean, if he's made changes as to what he's providing to us, I think that we need to definitely get with him and figure out, show an itemized list and now of the change of plans as to where our money's going.
Sure.
And if he's having people meet with him, then I think we need all the dates and times and scheduling of that and part of his committee or however.
Okay. The top portion would be the projected tax rate, and that's very important to remember because I don't think it's gone through the board review yet. The levy was added, additional revenue was about $318,000. That's projected to put 16 cents on the tax rate. The current tax rate is $4.73. It would increase it to $4.89. The figure down below is what the current tax liability is for $100,000, $200,000, and $300,000 home at the tax rate of $4.73. After the increase, it was just for the levy. It's projected to go up to $4.89. The building bonds, based on a $9.8 million bond, it would add. Keep in mind the bond rate is backloaded, so initially the rate fluctuates for the amount of the tax rate. You can see that in the amortization schedule. But I used a figure of 82 cents. That would add, go from a current tax rate of 473 to 555. And the tax liability would be $1,848.08. Life safety bonds, those are qualified school construction bonds. What that's based on at $1.4 million. If that was bonded, that would add 8 cents onto the tax rate. It would go from 473 to 481. If all of these figures are bonded or extended, it would add $1.06 onto the tax rate. Keep in mind with the levy amount, if there is no tax caps implemented, then that amount would not be levied additionally every year. And if the life safety bonds were paid out of reserve, then those bonds would not be sold as well. So this is very tenuous at best, but the tax liability for sure on a $9.8 million building bond would be 82 cents.
Does that include the homeowner's exemption being taken out?
I'm going off the amortization schedule. I'm assuming yes, it would.
I think it is.
Okay,
I
this
think
is,
that's what who you're renting at.
I would have to double check.
Do they have that clue?
this also doesn't include the 4.1 million for health life safety.
No, you wouldn't bond the $4.1 million unless the referendum failed. Then you would not bond the $9.8 million because you don't have authorization to sell those bonds. So you would transition to the $4.1 million life safety bonds to either replacement or repair.
And then the EAV on this improvisation, that's just basing it at just the same EAV.
He put it on a flat EAV with no growth on it, which could be, the EAV right now is growing at 3%, about 3%. So obviously, as that EAV would go up, the tax rate would go down.
I would hope within 20 years our property value is worth what it is.
It should.
But if also then like, if the farm values go down in the next few years, then they will have to raise,
Then the EAV would go down, or the VAV would grow as quickly as it is now. 30% of our tax base is agriculture. And certainly, the farm assessment will slow down over the next 3 years. What it will slow down to is unknown.
So as of right now, looking at this, when the loan is paid off, it's 17 million for the retail.
$16,997,300. $16,997,391 would be the cost of all levies.
With the levies.
It's the real cost of it, interest and principal. Based on today's interest of 4.5%.
It's,
No.
it's like it's 20.
Now it's
Just,
right,
it could be,
but it's just for me. So with the bond and then replaced with high school, that's
$1,459,524.03, provided that's bonded with qualified school construction. If we don't get the award, then you're gonna go back to probably a 4.5% interest rate. And I do not have an emergency schedule for that at this time.
so we're talking overall.
18.4 is what I have. 1.4. We
If
could.
we don't get the.
That's true.
But basically, you're looking at 18 million for the referendum.
No, no, you're looking for a new building based on a $9.8 million bond. The total levy would be $16,997,391.
they'd be able to go all.
But it's not 4.1. If we take 4.1, it would be 4.1, or it could be more.
And I would, and part of this process will include a presentation from a bond underwriter. So. First Midland, yeah. That's what we do for the past.
We want the 12/2010 approved as an A overnight trip since January 2016 A excellent conference, the April 4th, 5th, 2016 Farm Bureau Leadership Conference, and 13, 16, 2016 State FFA
Roll call vote, Wheeler,
Yes.
Stickle,
Yes.
Fargo's absent. Kimball. Cusack.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Okay, anything else?
How long? About 20.
I just wanted to point out on this last piece of paper that you gave us, that those figures for the current tax liability, that's to your school district, that's not your total tax bill. You will also pay tax bills to your township, to your town if you live
That's
in a town.
correct. That's just the school portion.
Yeah, the airport that we don't use, all of those things also will be included in that total tax bill. This is what you're going to pay the school district if you have a $100,000 home or a $200,000 home. I just wanted people to realize.
Yeah, question, what are you getting for your 9.8 million? Is there a blueprint on this thing or not? Or just a couple of generic computer renderings? I mean, I've done enough of
That's
this
what they've been
stuff.
talking about tonight.
I mean,
Guys coming January 28th to talk to them.
I guess how can you put an estimate on something without having any kind of blueprint?
I'm sorry?
How can you have an estimate on something?
That's a good question. What architects have, they have software that they can develop a building plan per square feet.
Software doesn't do anything. I've done this a long time. For federal
I gotta be honest with you,
municipalities and whatnot,
I'm not gonna argue with you.
no, I'm just asking. I mean, I guess my big question is, how much would it cost the school district to get a blueprint from the architect? I think that'd be a better way to go. So just
$30,000.
How much?
$30,000.
30,000?
And that's what they'll be developing.
Okay.
It will not be an full engineered drawing. It will be a rendition, an elevation, and a floor plan.
So nothing that goes inside of it, all the guts. No HVAC, no electrical, no nothing.
No.
What would that cost? Get that?
I have no idea.
Maybe that's something that you might want to look into.
Last architect we had when we first started this process wanted $160,000 up front for full engineering drawing. They're expensive.
Yeah, and that's not going on top of this. Would that be, is that included in this
Well,
9.8?
that includes A&E costs, architects and engineering, which is about 7% of the entire job.
Okay. I'm just a question. I just
Sure,
wonder
yeah.
what it costs. I mean, I've done projects that I've had a spec book this thick.
Right.
And normally, you can't really ballpark it, but ballparking doesn't do anything when you're looking at a project this big. I mean, this 9.8 could turn into 12.5, 14. It could get crazy.
There's no,
It's called
what
change
happens
order.
is, the language on the ballot will be for $9.8 million. And what that is, it's a request for an authorization to sell bonds up to $9.8 million. If
Okay.
it comes under budget, then the district will not sell bonds totaling $9.8 million. If it goes over,
Yeah, where's that?
let's say up to 11,
Yeah.
they're not authorized to sell bonds at $11 million.
So where does that money come from then?
You,
We're not just,
So,
the 9.8 million,
no, if it goes over, if it goes over, where does that money come
they gotta
from?
go back to the drawing board and get it down to the 9.8 million.
Didn't happen here.
Didn't happen here.
Didn't happen in this building right down here you put
Right
on.
down there.
Right down there, didn't happen.
Then what did happen?
They
They
went
did.
and asked taxpayers for more money so they could
Sure
finish
did.
the construction.
It sure did.
Wasn't done.
I'm amazed that you were able to capture that revenue,
Well,
do it.
the building wasn't done.
What are you gonna do with a half-done building at all?
Right.
That's where we sit, right down there.
I guess that's my big question, I mean, is, you know,
And you know, I'll be happy to answer any question you have that I know the answer to.
yeah.
That's what I'm here for. But the only thing I can't get into is the philosophy of this. I think everybody here knows how I feel about it, but that's.
Well, actually, this is the first time I've been to one of these, so I'm
But that's
just kind of trying to
neither here
feel,
nor there. That is, if
I'm
you have
just trying to get some
a question
information, is all
that I
I'm
can
trying to
answer
do.
for you, I'll be happy to supply it.
Yeah, that's all I'm trying to do, is, like I said, first time I've been to a
Sure.
board meeting in my entire life, and I'm damn near 40 years old, so,
Hopefully you'll come back for more.
yeah. I'm just trying to get a grasp of what I will be voting on,
Sure.
so.
Or if you have something and you want to ask it, you think about it, okay, let somebody know, all right, so we can try and get that answer for you.
Call me.
Okay, I was wondering about,
Or
you
stop
know,
by.
overages and whatnot, you know, if it does go over,
And that goes, that's anybody.
you know, without having some kind of a blueprint of actually, you know, to actually get a full grasp about what's actually really happening versus a computer
They
rendering of
usually don't
a
develop
building.
full engineered drawings until they have authorization to sell those
Okay.
bonds, because they won't get paid.
Okay.
Somebody else?
So information and stuff that's being, given us here, is there anywhere on the school board site that you guys are posting this specifically? Because
We will be.
Okay, I've been there a couple times and it's really hard, especially like last time referendum, I couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
So I
That's
think
why we're.
one of the big things is, yeah, if we can get it out there to people,
Yeah, we will have a new website in 6 weeks, but some of this will be posted before that website is developed. I think it's important that this information, any information, including the drawings, get out to the community.
Who's taking the lead on that? Post information, what I like that one pointer.
Gary will. I think he'll need to.
I would think this is a priority,
Sure.
something we would try to work on before 6 weeks.
And I think what the board's gonna have to do is authorize what gets posted on the website. I mean, you know, you need to work with the architect when he's here on the 28th, and maybe that's something you wanna discuss with him when he's here. And as soon as you decide what you want on there, I can have Gary post it, and it's out to the public.
I'd like to make sure that we agree on the same time number. It's all, yes, that's.
Right.
I think it should be given to the board first for review prior to.
I agree, but keep in mind, there might be things that need to be posted, and in order to get it to the board, then you would have to have a school board meeting. I'm fine with that, but
I'm fine with it too. I mean, we're elected to do this job.
Okay.
Okay, so I mean, I don't have a problem counting extra. I don't, because
all right.
we're here to do the best we can for the district, period.
Can you go back? Make sure people have a chance. We got that. Yep.
There's some that believe that if they have the homestead exemption and the tax freeze, that their taxes will not go up if the referendum goes through.
that's a lie.
That's not true. If the referendum goes through, you know, regardless of whether or not they have the homestead exemption or the tax freeze, their taxes will go up.
Absolutely,
Correct.
no one here has ever suggested.
Okay.
Did you want to make a comment?
I think that Jason and Ryan answered most of the questions that Stephanie, Fiona had, and it seemed to be satisfied her right now, so I don't think we need to work anything right now.
The worst case scenario for $100,000 house, if the referendum passes, and you're on that high school, is 1928, correct? Is the $1,928?
Worst case scenario.
So that's if everything passes with the levy, that's the worst case.
Worst case scenario.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure everyone understood that.
To the
Unless-
school.
I guess that's for the school, yeah.
It's for the school.
We can't read it.
That's good to say that, because people need to know what that figure is.
What is that?
Right, it's the
Might have to
$200.
read it out for
$25.
Yes, Wiley.
When do you think you would have teacher input, time for that?
Chuck has talked about that. I would assume he was doing that with the general information session, but he said he wanted teachers in on that. So,
We don't have any teachers.
well, I don't know who does either, but I know when it comes on the 28th, that would be somebody, but I know he does, he said it.
So
Who can facilitate that? Yeah, if you have group of teachers that would want to meet with Chuck, especially since there's not going to come down here and hold the other meetings. Is that something that we can facilitate with Chuck?
Mine goes almost 1,000.
I would like to hear what the teachers have to say. They're the ones in the buildings all the time. And again, that just kind of gives us more acumen to what they're dealing with. And what they need. I would love to hear what they have.
Is it appropriate for us to have like a piece of paper in the lounge
so you
where
have
teachers can
this
jot
right here.
down thoughts and ideas?
You know, roughly.
Like I
$50
could just,
or
we could
so.
just put it in the lounge and say, what things
Yeah,
would you like
That's
to
it here.
make sure?
especially if
screwed.
you know that you wouldn't have to bring the meeting that you asked.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, we're not doing yes or no or anything, just individual
This
teachers
guy
have
here.
a chance to just jot their thoughts down.
As long as you're not on the clock.
So we could do it before 8 and after 4.
I'm in between these two.
Okay. Well, so that's
I
like,
think so.
well, so it could be in the lunch,
So
in
the
the
guy that has
lounge.
a $6,000
Just during lunch.
It's all worth it.
Okay, so I'll make sure it's not during class.
60,000, say.
I would have to ask our attorneys that question.
Can it up all day, or can it has to be taken down and put
Nothing
back
else
up?
is in there that over
I would not have any activities related to the
Okay.
referendum on school property during school hours at all.
That's why I asked.
Better safe than sorry.
Right.
You're working with the taxpayers' facilities on the taxpayers' dime.
So,
That's something that,
okay, so like after 4 o'clock, then we
that's
could,
something that you should probably not even do on school property.
not even like, I mean, all I'm saying is
Not
that
even on school property. No.
you're asking for input
Not on school
for like
property.
how many outlets a room might need for technology, that's all we're talking about.
I have no
Okay.
idea. And you'd have to ask the architect that question. And I would encourage you to come here on the 28th and maybe ask them that.
I think she's saying that that's the input where, you know, the standard might be you need one every so many feet, and they're realizing, no, you actually need more.
Right.
And then you put that.
Well, you're asking for teacher input, you like, currently, we have very little outlets in many rooms, so like, a teacher might drop down, please make sure there's adequate number of outlets for our computers and that's the kind of input I'm talking
Set up a
about.
blog or something along those lines where you can make it virtually, and then you don't even have to worry about it.
Ah,
Right?
Okay.
Set up a wiki or something
a
like that.
wiki
where
or
all
a
teachers can use on their own.
Blackboard, okay.
Make it simple, that way you don't have to.
And then
worry
they
about
could
this.
type it in at home and not be at
That's
school,
right.
okay, I
If I could
understand.
probably answer your question on that right there.
Oh,
Most architects have a program that will actually draw out the electrical program, and it all goes to the International Electrical Code. So everything goes to code,
okay,
and that's how most things are typically are drawn up.
okay, thank you. No, because that's a school.
Use your own.
Keep it away.
Make a Facebook page, something like that. That's all it has to be.
We'll figure out a way to do it totally away from school hours. But you're asking for input, you know, so,
So that's not,
It-
is that,
like,
you want
that's not.
information to Chuck, is that something that you should be able to provide? So in the future, we're gonna want community input in general. How do we take community input without, you know, at some point, I think you have to use some degree of school resources. For instance, just meeting in the school, it's a school resource, right?
But that's a open meeting, so that's okay.
That's not during school instruction.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Regular day. We can lease or allow anybody in the community to use our buildings. We have a policy.
So, all right, so any materials that we would want to share with the public, any printed materials that would need to come from Chuck, probably then?
If it's informational only, we could use it.
We can do that. Okay.
And it doesn't have a yes or no connotation to it. This is just the school.
Oh,
Anything
So
else?
you already know, we assessed.
I'm getting angry.
You guys can I go back to talking football for a moment? Or are you just staying strictly on? When we had one of the other open meetings over in the gym, and it was voluntarily put out there that you were gonna have all these football games possibly with Elgin, Aurora, Ottawa, all these schools that was the same distance away. Now all of a sudden, we're getting this roadblock put up saying that it's a 3-hour bus ride. That's pretty much the same as what it's been the last 2 seasons. Gas prices are coming down, so your transportation cost is gonna be less. They already leave early, so leaving early shouldn't be an issue, but it just seems like there's once again another obstacle that's thrown out there against football players. And I just feel that we need to give these kids every opportunity to become a team, stay a team, and move forward, and we can be just as good and strong as any other athletic program out here. Thank you.
Can I circle back to Mr. Jansen and the scoreboard?
Yeah.
And I was the one using the scoreboard when I decided to freak out in the middle of the game. So it's a little unnerving. But there's at least one local business that would be willing to purchase advertising space to help offset costs. So I don't know if that can factor, I don't know how that factors to the board. But we would, I've talked to a couple of businesses that might be interested in something, but I mean, if Peekskill would gladly help offset some costs, if that would help get something updated that doesn't wig out in the middle of the game.
Yeah, Adam, I wrote the same thing down back when I was on the board. We approached different companies to donate the scoreboards to us, that we would advertise for them for a certain length of time. No alcohol, but, Pepsi, Coke, somebody was providing, I think, one of these scoreboards. So.
Pepsi and Coke have a much deeper budget in the pizza field.
Yeah.
Just FYI.
Yeah.
If you want to go to them first, I'm not offended, they got a lot more money than me. This comes out of my pocket, so I'm going
There
out
are
there.
resources out there that you might want to look into.
Thank you, Travis, for making that. That's a great gesture to those people. And other businesses.
For Pepsi to get Coke.
Last call. I have a motion for adjournment.
I'll make that motion. It's important.
Second. Marilyn?
Thank you all very much.
All in favor, say aye. Kind of snuff.
They already got recessed in the rural residential committee.
Yeah.